agenda.
Good evening. Welcome to the workshop session of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum present with council members McKenzie, Karn, Arnold, and Gay. So I will call the meeting to order at this time at 6 o'clock p.m. The first item is the Mayor and Council's 2024-25 budget initiatives.
Thank you very much, Mayor, council members. Good evening, y'all. You have it up on the screen, next page. So, a little intro. City manager asked Althea and me to come back to you with a budget for the overall city, $170 million in total budget, all departments, all funds, with a 6% cut. City manager and Ms. Floyd Bradley have met with department heads on Thursday. They've gone over this, and they were able to achieve what you see there. And if I can lay it out for you, the first column is the 24 budget, the year that we're in here, July 1 to June 30th, 24. You can see the 6% reductions, and you can see what the budget would be expected to be. Then you can see what the requested budget was from all department heads. And off to the right, you can see the red, the difference between the two. And so this gives you a line item number. If I could go to the next page, please, ma'am. So you can see that the columns, the budget was $170 million for 24. You see the 6% cuts, the amount there. You see the $167 million would be the expected new budget. You can see the requests from the departments. So it's a $14 million difference. One of the ways the departments in large measure met that 6% cut is they took all the capital out and delayed the capital and tried to do it without touching employees. If I could go to the next page, please, ma'am. Here's a list of the capital that was taken out, and you can see what capital items are there. What staff would like from you all as mayor and council is what priorities you all would like to see in capital. And if you all want to stick with that 6% cut across the board, or if you want to go through it by line item and department, see if you want to restore some. One thing I will tell you in particular was a GICC. If you all remember, we did a refinancing in 2020 at the teeth of COVID in order to take principal that we would pay for 3 years and put it out on the long end of the payment schedule that we have for all the city's debt. And we got a payment holiday for 3 years. That payment holiday is over in fiscal year 25. So July 1 of 24 to June 30, 25. You'll see full debt service that we used to have. In the GICC, that was about $4 million of principal. And so it wasn't possible to cut a complete 6% out of the GICC. Madam Mayor, Council, questions?
All right, we'll start with Councilmember McKenzie.
I don't have any questions at this time, Ed. We've already talked.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Councilmember Karn.
All right. Yeah, I had a chance to look over everything. Looks good. Tightening our belts. You come into the budget as lean as possible, and we've done this years before in the past. I guess it's our version of zero-based budgeting, but not really zero-based. It just requires that any additional expenses over the 6% be justified, and then we decide if we want to put back someone 6% or a portion of some department 6% or whatever have you.
Yes, sir.
It's just a way to tighten things up. And so I know there were a lot of requests for additional things I'm hearing from my community, and everybody's community is asking for this and that and the other. This gives us a little extra elbow room to work in some things if we want to. So, yeah, looks good.
Councilmember Arnold.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Gay.
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Althea.
There is, on that last slide, we discussed the car rental tax fund. We have not allocated those funds for any recreation or public safety capital equipment items or projects. So we are asking council at this time to list their priorities so we can possibly fund that with the car rental tax dollars.
How soon do you need that information?
Prior to your April 9th budget workshop meeting, so I'll say at least by
Within
the
the
end of
next
this week,
week.
please,
Okay.
if you
All right.
submit it to the city manager.
Mention three things you discussed.
Yes, and it does mention what it can be spent on, convention centers, public safety, and recreation facilities.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Got a presentation from MARTA next.
Good evening, Mayor Motley Broom and council members. Great to be with you tonight. I'm Colleen Kiernan. I'm the Assistant General Manager for External Affairs at MARTA. I very much appreciate the time that you've given me to tell you a little bit about two important upcoming initiatives that will impact College Park. So I want to start by talking about the Clayton Southlake Bus Rapid Transit project and some updates that we're contemplating to it. If you could, yep, perfect, next slide. No, this is the slide I want, thank you. So I wanted to start by just explaining a little bit about how the funding for MARTA works. So we're a local jurisdiction that is made up of 4 jurisdictions. So we are City of Atlanta, Clayton County, Fulton County, and DeKalb County. And as you recall, Clayton County is our newest member jurisdiction, and they joined in 2014 by passing a referendum for an additional penny sales tax there. Mr. Wall was involved in that at the time. So the deal that was cut for Clayton County joining the system so many years after the original 3, Fulton, DeKalb, and the City of Atlanta joined, was that they were at the time concerned their funds were going to build heavy rail up Georgia 400. And so to alleviate those concerns, the deal that was struck was that MARTA would hold half of their penny in an escrow account to complete the capital expansion projects that Clayton County wanted. And so, that was after the 2012 T-SPOST failed, but it was before the 2016 City of Atlanta additional MARTA referendum, and it was before the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority was created, and then other metro counties had the ability to do a sales tax to support a transit system. So just wanted to give you that context. As you can see, between the original 3, City of Atlanta, DeKalb, and Fulton County, most of our revenue does come from the 1-cent sales tax that is levied in those counties, and it's roughly evenly distributed amongst those 3 jurisdictions. Clayton County comes in at a little over 10%. But again, and so the penny that is part of the big penny goes to put the buses on the street today, and then the half of it is set aside in the escrow account for their projects. Thanks for humoring me on the history there. If you could go to the next slide, please. I just wanted to give you an overview of all of the projects and initiatives that we're advancing in the South Metro Atlanta area, so to include South Fulton, Clayton, and a little bit of South DeKalb County. So as you can see, we have the 3 station rehabilitation programs that are part of our State of Good Repair program, so that's all funded by the Core Penny program. We have several bus rapid transit and arterial rapid transit projects advancing. I'll just go from the top to the bottom. The Campbellton Corridor BRT, and then the other orange line that goes down and connects to East Point. That's the Cleveland and Metropolitan Arterial Rapid Transit projects. Those are both funded by the City of Atlanta's More MARTA referendum from 2016. And then you'll see the other 2 lines that go into Clayton County are 2 bus rapid transit lines funded by the Clayton half penny that's set aside in the escrow. Fulton County, as you're maybe aware, adopted a comprehensive transit master plan in 2018, and the 2 South Fulton projects, the primary project that was identified in that planning process was South Fulton Parkway, but during conversations that we've been having with South Fulton municipalities and other stakeholders, we've identified Roosevelt Highway as an additional corridor that we're studying. And so with the core penny funding, MARTA is studying and advancing the preliminary planning for those 2 projects, South Fulton Parkway and Roosevelt Highway, but we don't have the funding to implement them at this time. That was what the creation of the ATL did. It allows Fulton County to levy an additional 0.2-cent sales tax referendum to support transit projects in Fulton County. Thanks again for bearing with me on the history. Next slide. So the snapshot of, so the Clayton Southlake Bus Rapid Transit Project was not part of the original plan from 2014. However, the 196 is MARTA's 2nd or 3rd busiest local bus route that roughly travels this, from College Park Station to Southlake Mall in roughly this alignment. And so it seemed right for additional higher capacity transit expansion. And so we studied that, and the alignment that we submitted to the Federal Transit Administration a couple of years ago was this. You can see, the thing I want to point out is the pink represents mixed traffic, so the bus will not have a dedicated lane in those areas. The blue represents semi-dedicated lanes, which basically means topography-wise, they are not dedicated lanes, but they could be construed to be that way. There's only two small sections. And then the yellowish gold are the dedicated lanes. So this alignment is about 50% dedicated lanes, which is just barely meeting the definition of what a bus rapid transit program is. As we've been looking at this and talking with FTA, we began to be a little bit concerned that this project wouldn't do as well as we had hoped in the competitive federal funding program, the capital investment grant program that the Federal Transit Administration runs. And so we started thinking about other ways that we could help improve our competitiveness. And connections to jobs is a very major component of the economic development criteria that FTA looks at. And of course, we have the state's largest employment center, in the vicinity of this area at the airport and environs. So we hired a firm last summer to study the feasibility of making a direct connection to the airport, which they've done. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the details, but this is how it would enter into the airport station. So it would roughly come off of I-85 and go onto an aerial viaduct is what we're calling it. And then it would do a loop that is adjacent to our current heavy rail station. So you'd have a direct connection, up in the sky where you'd just be able to walk from platform to platform. And so we'd go along the SkyTrain corridor, like in that right of way. So we've talked to the airport, GDOT, Clayton County Commission, Fulton County Commissioners about this as we've been moving it along. And we have strong support from the folks that we've talked to. If you go to the next slide, please. I apologize that my legend got dropped onto that alignment, but don't worry, there's a better map on the next slide. But I just wanted to talk to you about some of the benefits that we learned in studying this potential alternative. So the gray bar is the LPA, that's the locally preferred alternative that was originally submitted to FTA, and then alternate 1 and 2 are very barely different that are covered by the legend. Apologies for that. So we've learned that this alternative would shave 3 miles off the total length, and this is just from Norman Drive to the heavy rail system, but it would cut the travel time almost in half, and it would do that both by making the distance shorter, and that entire way would be able to be dedicated lanes rather than the mixed traffic, which was represented by the pink on the previous map. So the increasing of the dedicated lanes helps our competitiveness somewhat as well, and there's a cost differential that we're in discussions about how we're going to make that work, but we feel confident that we would be able to make it work. We'll flip to the next slide, thank you. So this shows the dedicated lanes. It's maybe not the most beautiful thing, but you can see on the left-hand picture, there's a 60-foot articulated bus. There's one kind of over the white car and then a little bit closer into the frame under the SkyTrain. And then you can see on Riverdale Road, the bus would be in the center running dedicated lanes in this alternative. Next slide, please. So this map lays out the original and the alignment that we've been investigating side by side so that you can see them really clearly. So the orange is what we've been studying, the yellow is the original. And so as you can see, moving towards the airport alignment option would eliminate 3 BRT stops in College Park and in Fulton County, as well as the College Park station specifically. So I just wanted to come on camera, make everybody aware of that would be a change. But again, the benefits that we would see, the increased percentage of dedicated lanes, the reduced travel time, we think is overall a benefit. Next slide, please. Also, so the second or third busiest route that I mentioned, the 196, this is the alignment that it uses today. So it essentially takes from Norman Drive up Riverdale Road and into College Park Station. So I wanted to address what losing the 3 stops in South Fulton County plus College Park would do in terms of your local bus service, which is nothing at all. Those 3 stops are very well served by MARTA's existing local bus service. So you can see 195 comes across Forest Parkway and hits all 3 of those stops on the way to College Park Station. 189 comes up Old National, also hits all 3 of those stops. 89 comes up and hits 2 of the 3 stops. And so none of that would change. Those 3 stops are very well served. The frequencies of our local bus service, those are high ridership stops, and we don't see anything changing about that. And additionally, if we were to build this direct airport connection, this aerial ramp, the projects that we're studying for South Fulton Parkway and Roosevelt Highway would be able to take advantage of that infrastructure as well, which is likely a potential economic benefit for all of South Fulton County. Next slide, please. Also wanted to make you aware we'll be having an open house next week, Thursday, March 28th at 6:30 p.m. at the Southern Regional Medical Center. We welcome all to come out, share your opinions. This information is on our website. We welcome you to share it with your constituents as well. Finally, last slide on a totally different topic. You hopefully have heard, and we spoke to some of you last Thursday, that we will be closing the MARTA Airport Station starting April 8th through May 19th to really speed up the renovation. We're replacing all the flooring, the terrazzo tile on the concourse, as well as the tiles on the platform. And so this will allow us to proceed through that work much more quickly. So we'll be able to save 17 months of construction time. That would have been a daily early closure that would have impacted perhaps even more people. So we will be running a free shuttle during that time, 22 hours a day, starting at 4 a.m., ending at 2 a.m. daily from College Park to Airport Station. We expect the buses will run at least every 12 minutes, but we'll be prepared to have some more buses in if the demand requires it. We're doing everything we can think of to get the word out, including public readings like this, more frequent stakeholder briefings with a variety of groups. We are also beginning our paid advertising campaigns, so we'll be on the airwaves, digital, social media, paid social media, our apps. We're having a press conference at the airport on March 29th with the general manager of MARTA and the airport. And so we hope that by the time we get through all this work that everyone will be like, shut up, we know about the airport closure. And we did have a conversation with some of us last week, but I brought MARTA Police Department's Deputy Chief Davenport with me in case there are any questions about public safety. But I think that our police departments have met and have come up with a joint security detail that we plan to implement throughout this closure. And then we've also made some connections to help make sure that the resources that we all have for helping unsheltered populations that we're well connected and communicating well about that. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks again for your time. I'm happy to entertain any questions about these topics or anything else that might be on your mind.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kiernan. We'll start with Councilmember McKenzie.
Again, I want to thank you, and I know in the first part of your presentation you were kind of apologizing for history, but you've got some new council members, so I appreciate you sharing the history for us so that we could even get a greater understanding. I was on the call last week, and my concern still is, and I'm sure that Councilman Carn will probably bring this up as well, but also understanding that, and it may not be enough time for you, said that you would get back, you'd talk to the parties that you need to speak to, but the concern about the SkyTrain, that we are thinking that we are going to get more ridership on that because of persons that may have normally rode the train from that station and not going to catch the bus. So I'm just wondering if there were any updates at this time with that, and but again, I want to thank you for coming out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Our most senior leadership team meets on Tuesday morning, so unfortunately that topic has not yet been discussed, so I don't have an answer for you as I stand here tonight, but you have my commitment that it will be discussed and we will provide a response to that concern.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carn?
All right, thank you so much for coming out. I was on the call as well. Again, partnership with MARTA, indisposable, absolutely beyond value. So can't say enough for the partnership. MARTA makes every city work, so to speak. Couple of questions I had. You mentioned the aerial ramp. Would that be a component of the College Park route version?
So it would be a component of the Southlake Bus Rapid Transit Project if we decide to change the alignment, which would mean that we will go with the orange one, the orange route instead of the yellow route.
Which the yellow was us.
The yellow had 3 stops in South Fulton County and went to College Park Station, yes.
Okay. And if we were to take the dedicated BRT, it wouldn't be dedicated on the Godby Road corridor, but the current bus, the 189 Schofield, would still run in conjunction with the new route.
So the 196 would likely curtail because it would be supplanted by the Bus Rapid Transit, but yes, the 3 routes, 189, 195, and 89 would all serve, well, 2 routes serve all 3 of the stops, 3 of the routes serve 2 of the stops.
Right. And I know 189 serves Godby, the Schofield.
Correct.
In particular.
Yes.
I think one of the big issues with this is the Aerotropolis node. The city of Atlanta's 150 acres along the Godby Road corridor. They've been looking at that as a large development project. And in terms of the future, that's something that we want to consider. At some point, they're going to develop that. And whether they get that route in terms of additional, anytime you've got additional buses when someone's running late for work and trying to get to where they need to go in the mornings and afternoons, if you got another bus coming, you're more likely to be on time and not be late for that job and so on and so forth. So this is good stuff. While I have you here, I had one other small issue with the Camp Creek route. This is, I guess, the 82 Camp Creek. As you know, that route used to run along our frontage road, which covered 4 of our large apartment complexes parallel to Camp Creek. You remember the route? And
I don't, but I will commit to looking it up and educating myself.
Well,
I'm following you.
I'll give you the short.
Okay.
That road, that access road was really degraded, and we had to redo that road. We put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into that road in terms of bringing it up to standards because it was buckling a bit and there were lots of potholes and whatnot, so we redid that road. In addition to GDOT's brand new $970,000 bridge that went across Camp Creek itself there, connecting into the apartment corridor. What we'd like to do is bring that route back along its original route directly in front of the apartment communities, because it is so dangerous for residents having to cross a 4-lane, 55-mile-per-hour highway, State Route 6, to get back and forth. So if that bus could come back in, and again, not even a few seconds difference, probably it would make all the difference in the world to your riders. So if we could look at that.
We'll certainly look into it. 2 quick responses of things that we have in the works to address those concerns. We are doing a complete bus network redesign, so that's been being planned, and we have the draft network done. We're making some tinkering with it, and then we're trying to time it with all the other stuff that we're trying to do, like close the airport station. So we expect to be out and talking about that in the near future, sometime this year for sure. I also wanted to make you aware that with strong congressional support, we've received several grants from our congressional delegation under their congressionally directed spending requests to implement a Safe Routes to Transit program. And so we're addressing safety concerns throughout the system. I share your concern that a pedestrian crossing a 55-mile-an-hour separate a highway is probably, there's nothing, no crosswalk that's going to make that safe. However, I wanted you to know that we are taking an extra step to make sure that we're doing as much as we possibly can to make sure that pedestrians are able to get to our services safely.
Yeah, one of the biggest concerns in the area, you try making that with a baby stroller, I tell you, or if you're in a motorized scooter, it's pretty challenging.
Yes, sir.
Last thing I'll say, some of the arrival times at some of our stops, I ride MARTA sometimes just to, And I have waited multiple times where sometimes it would be 20 to 25 minutes behind the advertised schedule. And I don't know if there's some way that MARTA could conduct some type of a timed route schedule checks just to see if they're on time. But it may be good to check around some of our areas because I get a lot of complaints of, well, I've been waiting, I'm late to work, so on and so forth. So we always want to,
Great.
when we have you, that would be a big help to us as well. So
Thanks for sharing that concern. We do have a MARTA on the go app, and you can see where the buses are in real time. So I was out at College Park Station this morning. It's Transit Operator Appreciation Day. I met an operator who drives out of Hamilton Garage on my bus, the 107, last week, and she really went above and beyond. So anyway, I came down to so she was on the 180 this morning, and I was actually pretty impressed with it. Updates much faster, and you can tell what the vehicle is, and it tells you whether it's a minute early or late, and also that information gets fed into Google. So, if you just do Google Map, hit the little bus or train, and it will tell you the transit, and it is pulling that information. And so we're not all the way there, but we've made some great strides in the last few years on providing that type of information in a more technologically advanced way.
all right, well, we really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for the partnership.
Councilmember Arnold?
So I do have a question. I just want to make sure that I fully understand the map that was showing. I think it's on page 20. So for the 3 stops that are going to be taken off or be supported by another bus, are we saying that the stop from Old National to Schofield, that there won't be a bus? I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
So there will be a bus. It will be the same 3 buses that serve that portion of Old National today.
Which will be 89, 189, and 195?
That's correct.
Okay.
So if you look on the cover of this presentation, that's a rendering of a bus rapid transit stop, and so you can see that it's like more robust than, for sure a sign on a pole, but I think those 3 stops have bus shelters. I would need to double check that for verification, but yeah. So the original plan would have had those 3 stops getting a treatment similar to this, but they will have just regular sized shelters instead for the time being, although you do have the 2 projects that we're studying on Roosevelt Highway and South Fulton Parkway that would contemplate this higher capacity transit.
Okay. All right. And then, since I wasn't on the call, so of course I have questions.
Sure.
The meeting that's being held, the open house on the 28th,
Yes.
will any of that be virtual or recorded for those who can't make it?
It will definitely be recorded. I'm going to need to check with my team to find out whether they're doing that one hybrid or whether it's in person to be recorded and put on YouTube afterwards. I will find that out and I will get back to you.
Yeah, if you could,
Sure.
because I think that being that we are just now, well, I'm just now finding out, I would have provided this information in my latest newsletter that goes out to some of these apartment complexes on Godby Road, because I think that the residents that live on that road, they would be interested in participating in this open house.
Understood. I will get you, we've had surveys and other things, so I will make sure that you have those links. So even if it's not a hybrid meeting, we'll find a way to make sure that we receive feedback from your communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Gay?
Oh, good evening. I have 3 comments. What is the distance, or do you know the distance that a street would be eligible to have a bus stop or bus route? I tell you why. I have a couple of streets, and I'm aware of a few more in the other wards, but I have a street that is too far to walk to the bus stop. Do you know the distance to be eligible for a bus?
When our transit planners look at where we provide our bus service, generally, the general rule of thumb is that it should be a quarter mile, like you can walk to a bus stop within a quarter mile.
within a quarter mile.
I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule. That's like the general planning principle for transit stops and services. And I will also say that our bus network redesign, so that's where we're taking a complete wholesale look at where the routes are and who they're serving and how many buses run on that alignment an hour. So if it's like one bus comes every 60 minutes, it's like, how should we balance that? Should we find a route that can pick up a lot more people and run it every 15 minutes? Or should we have the one bus that does a big loop every 60 minutes? So those are the types of questions that we're seeking to address or, adjust the balance a little bit in this bus network redesign.
Do you have instances where there's a bus that take you to the route, but it's not the primary route bus?
So we did do a pilot program this time last year that we called MARTA Reach, which was an on-demand program. So Georgia Tech developed the app, and it worked very similarly to like how Uber and Lyft, you order a ride. And so we did 3 zones. We did one at Gillum, one in the Belvedere area of DeKalb County, and then one around the H.E. Holmes station. And that one actually did the best, which was, really primarily residential and served a lot of seniors. So that will be part of the conversation in the bus network redesign is that last mile connectivity and how MARTA can play a bigger role in that.
All right, my second quick question is, I was talking to one of the owners of the apartment complex. Is there an opportunity for them to talk to y'all about sharing the parking lot at the College Park train station? We just added about 300 residents at the apartment complex, and they don't have parking. And I noticed y'all got a parking lot that I don't know if it's always full. Are there any public-private partnership with some of y'all's decks?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So we're repaving the College Park surface lot right now. So like a big chunk of it is not open, but it looks, I was just there today, as I mentioned. So it looks to be close to ready to reopen. And we are also considering whether we could, AT&T owns the deck that we have at College Park Station as well as Doraville and North Springs. And they've been divesting some of their assets around the region, and so we're exploring whether that's a transaction that might be able to be made. So I don't have an answer for you now on that, but we would love to stay in touch on that topic.
And they should call you?
Sure. I believe that Ms. Ames has my contact information.
And one final question. I notice when I go to work in the morning on Main Street, which is formerly Roosevelt Highway, the people get out the bus to go to the GICC and the hotel to work, and there's no lights, nor is there a bus stop shelter. Is there an opportunity to talk about adding lights and a shelter?
Absolutely. It could be addressed through our Safe Routes to Transit program, and also we have a bus shelters and amenities program. So yes, if Ms. Ames can provide my information to you and you can tell me specifically which stop you're talking about, our team can evaluate whether a shelter is, so it sounds like generally if folks are waiting on the other end it's folks who are getting ready to board the bus where we prioritize the shelters. Folks who are getting off and going into work, they're not waiting, they're headed in. But yeah, on the other end, if we have more than 25 boardings a day at a stop, in general, it's an automatic yes for adding a shelter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Kiernan, I do want to thank you for MARTA's attention to the bus shelters along Princeton that were a direct response to resident opportunities to improve things and our seniors in that area. And so thank you just for your constant partnership, and appreciate all that MARTA does in working with our great city.
Likewise, we appreciate our partnership with College Park. We wouldn't be here without y'all, and thanks so much for your time and your thoughtful questions, and look forward to continuing our conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
This is a PR discussion with 365-degree marketing.
Yes, I'm introducing 365 marketing presentation and PR for a 90-day contract until our new director gets acclimated. Hi.
Thank you so much, Mayor and council members. We appreciate the time here today. We were contacted by Mr. Hicks and referred by Clayton County to talk to you today. So thank you for the opportunity. And I love this quote, so I decided to start with this from Warren Buffett. It takes 20 years to build a reputation, and it takes 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, then you'll do things a lot differently. So that's accurate and so appropriate for all of us.
Do you mind stating your name for the record, please?
Linda Mosley with
Thank you.
365 Degree Totem. So, just to start real quickly, as we're going into this, what does public relations do? It helps your city control the narrative, so the narrative isn't controlled by the events. And it also helps you to develop and proactively get positive press instead of waiting on the press to come to you about events that they want to cover. And it also prepares you, the leaders, for the unexpected. It's so easy to get blindsided with certain events and certain circumstances, and I think it's so important for everyone to be ready for the questions or the issues that are going to arise. Okay? So, what can we do? That's what it is. And it can actually help you develop the true identity of College Park. In working with Clayton County, we have researched over 75 data points. This is a competitive analysis that includes Fulton County and this area. And so it's important to proactively look at all the advantages you have. You have so many positive stories. Let's get those out there. And show people who you are as a city. Show them the advantages. Show them what's happening positively. We want to create that marketing awareness, and we want to help you compete for business, and we want to make sure we're positioning you for the future. So it's so easy to live in the current and to forget we're developing College Park and the employers and the employees and the workforce and the residents for the future. So that's what we want to do with this. So now that we know what it is and what it does, why would you need a public relations agency? Well, obviously, you're in a position right now. I'm going to go down to the very last one on here. It allows you to hire a public relations person at your own pace. So you're not rushing it. You're making sure you get the right person for the job. You're making sure you have the right elements in place to support that position. You need that expertise and experience. You're so busy coming to these council meetings, reading all the data that we give you, reading all of that and being ready, you don't have the time to put forth the extra effort that is required and needed for public relations. So if you can take people with experience and let us feed you that data, then it saves you time and puts you in the position you want to be. We already have existing relationships with the press. That's what we do for a living. So we know the media in the metro Atlanta area and beyond, all over Georgia. And it's our job to know those people. It's our job to know what their editorial calendars are, how we can position you into their editorial calendars to give you that positive press, and also establish you as positions of leadership. So each one of you have your own talents, you have your own knowledge base, and there's so many times they need experts to talk to them about certain issues. So if we can position you as an expert in those areas. We have 30 people on staff, 35 people on staff, and all of those people are trained in one element of dealing with media and dealing with public relations. So each one of them has the knowledge of how to handle crises and how to handle day-to-day issues that come up. We're prepared for the unexpected, and we want to get you prepared for the unexpected because honestly, every municipality has the same issues coming up. And so what's happened in one city, what's happened in one county is going to happen eventually in College Park or other areas. So we want you to be prepared. And sometimes you're so close to the ball that you have a little bit of that emotion in there, you have a little bit of that history in there, and it helps to have that outside perspective where we can say, okay, let's look at it from another standpoint. I'm a firm believer, I taught psychology at Clayton State, and I'm a firm believer that any problem can be resolved if you look at the similarities, if you look at what you have in common. You guys would be taking your time if you didn't believe in College Park and believe in what this city has to offer. So that's the message you want to get out, and that's how you want to handle things. So having that outside perspective can help you balance those. All right, so we're going to control the narrative, and I'm going to go back to one that happened in Clayton County. We did a survey, an open survey. We got over 2,500 results on the open survey that we did for the community. And 10 years ago, they lost their accreditation. Do you know that almost 70% of them still thought it was because of the education system? They didn't realize that it was because of their board of directors. Now, I'm telling you right now, that loss of accreditation should never have happened. There was no reason it should have happened, and they had a loss of many of their upscale families because of that loss of accreditation, and it is still haunting them today, although we've done a very good job of getting the knowledge out there. But they still had people that lived there and people from outside that still thought it was because of their education. It was not about the education system. So those are the kind of things that we have to drive the message, because that can really make a difference in community. So I bring that up just to say, why not proactively address things? Okay. The good news is in 2021, after we addressed many of those kind of issues, Clayton County actually won the Public Relations Society of America top award for brand management and reputation management. And I'm very proud of how hard they've worked to address many issues that were critical for that county. So, and they have so much to brag about, just as College Park has so much to brag about. I lived here for over 2 years, so part of my heart lives here, okay? All right, so here's a little bit more about our company, and I'm going to start by introducing Angie and Heath. They're two of the team that would be working on this particular account with y'all. Angie actually used to be an economic developer in Kenton, Cherokee County, and has a phenomenal experience of working with the press. Heath has been doing this for 20 some odd years. Before that, he was a golf pro and has just had a lot of history in working with public relations and marketing. And we've got 5 people on staff that are trained journalists. So you need to know that everybody we bring to the table is going to help drive that message, is going to help have those relationships with that area. So we have won over 400 awards for our clients. We don't claim any of these awards because we feel like it's you that we're representing. It's you that get the awards for what happens out there. We're full service, so we do everything from branding to research, competitive analysis, to actually sending out the press releases, contacting the press, doing media training, doing all of the elements that are involved in working through the public relations for any area. We know cities and counties. That's what we do. We're known as a destination marketing company. And so I think it's critical to know what's going on with any city and county. So we know a lot more than sometimes you tell us about things that are happening or can happen. And within hours, we can pretty much identify the areas of vulnerability based on what's happening in the area because we've had 30 years of experience. And so we want to pass on that knowledge and that expertise to you guys. Again, you work too hard to let that come into play. We've been in business for over 35 years. I've been with the company the entire time, and I was only 2 in case you're trying to figure out how old I was. And then we have clients throughout the United States and Europe, but we do specialize in the southeastern area. As you know, we were recommended by Clayton County, and I think that's probably the best thing I can say because I can talk all day, but having, the recommendation of someone that is nearby that knows how we work, that's probably the best thing I can say all night. And I think Mr. Hicks will tell you within, 30 minutes of him contacting us, we had made an appointment. We were up here 2 days later. We're available 24/7. I could tell you about a scenario that happened during the Christmas holidays that we had to put 3 staff members on monitoring 24/7. That's just what we do. So we understand that you cannot time crises. We are available 24/7. If something happens, We are monitoring the social media literally every hour. We're setting alarms to make sure that we know the energy, the traffic numbers, everything that's happening at any point in time. Because I'm going back to that Warren Buffett, you know, you can work all so hard to build that reputation, and you can just have a few things just take it down. And so we want to make sure we're monitoring it all along the way. So, okay. All right, so the first phase, if we work together, is the onboarding phase. During the onboarding phase, we get a lot of background information and data so that we're ready for anything that happens. That includes getting any kind of historical data. We're going to go back over the next 3 years, or the past 3 years, and we're going to look at every positive article that's happened about College Park, every negative article that's happened about College Park. We're going to analyze every part of that so we're ready and we know what the history is during the onboarding time. We're going to look at every one of your budgets, because I guarantee you if they start coming, they're going to look at budgets. So we're going to make sure that we know and we can answer positively any questions that come up about budgets and how we're using those for the taxpayers' advantages, okay? We're going to develop fact sheets for every department. We will develop fact sheets for each one of you council members so that if we get any questions about anyone, we are ready to give them information about each one of you individually and what you do for your area of representation. We're going to come up with very quick, easy to remember quotes that you can give to the media. Just one example, you know, every city has personnel issues. So you can say, we can't address any personnel issues due to confidentiality, or you could choose to say something like, thank you so much for covering College Park. We appreciate all you do for the area. We want all of the College Park residents to know that every decision we make is done for the taxpayers. We take seriously every decision. And while we cannot discuss confidential personnel matters, our residents can be confident that their best interests are our first priority. So you're basically saying the same thing, you're just adding the positive. You're letting them know that your interests are your first priority, you know, all of our taxpayers. And that's why you're here, is to help those taxpayers get the most out of those taxpayer dollars and make sure College Park is run, you know, efficiently and effectively. So we'll talk about dress code. We'll talk about what to do if you're surprised by the media. We'll make sure we have key contacts for every situation so that there's no surprises. If it's a building issue, here's going to be your key contact. If it's a personnel issue, here's going to be your key contact. And every one of you are ready for that opportunity. And I do consider it opportunity. I know you know the Chinese definition of opportunity, or of crisis, is opportunity plus issues. So you want to make sure that you're ready to take advantage of those crises that come up, okay? And then we're going to have key media contacts on that onboarding, okay? Then we'll do a 90-day media calendar. Again, we're going to try to drive the message. We're going to go out and say, here's 5 positive items about College Park that we want to get out to the media. Y'all have got so much wonderful, wonderful things going on. Let's get it out there. Let's brag on it. Let's make sure they know where those SPLOST dollars, where those dollars are going, and how we're making progress with all of that. We'll make sure that that includes any kind of economic development announcements. It includes any kind of events. It'll run the gamut of information as we get that out there. And then we're going to actually have the media training. So during the media training, we'll give you some talking points. We'll have some easy quotes that you can remember. And we do make them easy, so you're not having to refer back to everything. We're going to make sure just some quick quotes that everybody knows that you can get to easily. Again, dress code, what to do if you're surprised by the media. How do you handle them if you know you're not the contact person, where you don't look like you're passing them off to someone else? They know that you're actually having their best interests at heart. You know, the media is just doing their job. They want to cover the best. They want to have all the research there. So if you tell them, let me get back to you in 2 or 3 hours, they're going to be okay with that 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.9 times out of 10. And I know they get a bad reputation for saying that they're contacting you at the last minute, but honestly, most of them want full data. They want full research. They don't want to run an article that's one way. So we're going to work with that, and we're going to make sure that you're ready for that, okay? All right, and then the media relations part of this is where we actually contact the media, might set up some lunches, we might have an opportunity for you to actually sit down with some of the media and just casually get to know them because they're of critical importance to the success of this area. And then we'll generate those positive articles during that time period. We'll make sure we get those events out there. And again, we'll make sure that we do those proactive press releases. We're anticipating about 2 a month. It just depends on what's going on. There may be times we do more. There may be times we say, okay, this is coming up next month. Let's just do this one press release this month. We'll do 3 or 4 next month, okay? All right, and then the pitches is where we get our public relations professionals involved, so they're actually talking to the media and letting them know the articles that are of importance that are coming up. You can't just send a piece of paper out. You know, they get a lot of pieces of paper every week, so you need to make sure you have those relationships. You need to make sure you're talking to them, and we get the information out that way. And then, of course, we do the media follow-through, so we're contacting those people to make sure they've gotten everything that they need. Is there any additional information they need? And just make sure that we can ask any questions. A lot of times it's that second contact that allows us to give them more data and get more information and just develop the article to its fullest potential. We'll make sure that we monitor the media, and so after it's covered, we will make sure that we have copies of every article, and we will give you monthly and quarterly reports so you can see everything that's been covered over the last either 30 days or 3 months, depending on where you're at in terms of what you need for reporting. Okay. All right, and then we'll do the broadcast media development. This is something that I'm always excited about. I mean, anytime we can get you in front of the television is a positive event, and so we want to make sure we are working with that. You have great footage that we can pull from. We have a full-time photographer, full-time videographer on staff, so we can, at any point in time, do videography or anything that y'all need to help get your name and your face and your ideologies out there in front of the media. And then we will obviously look for award opportunities. So there's always opportunities to, again, say what you're doing right, get that word out there. We'll look for those opportunities, and then we'll submit the awards with your permissions and your approvals. And then every other week, we'll be talking with your staff and each one of you to make sure we keep in touch with what's going on in your world, because you may know something that someone else doesn't know. And so we're going to work to get content out there. So if we're doing a newsletter, if we're working with y'all on the media coverage, then we know exactly what's happening and what has happened over the past 2 weeks, and we can get that information out there. And then, of course, we'll do the status calls every other Tuesday at 3 p.m. is what I have on here. But, of course, we'll work that in terms of your time period and what works best for you. All right, and here are the costs. The onboarding phase with the communications plan, the media training, and the 90-day media calendar is around $18,000. And just to give you the hourly rates, we charge right at $175 an hour. So we will break that down. We're very good at giving you a monthly report on that. The 90-day contract costs, and this is all of the media, proactive media that we do, anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And we're just anticipating that level for the first 90 days. And then after that, it will go down tremendously. And I'm sure once you get your public relations person in place, we'll just work within what they need and what you need as a city to balance that out. But this gets you started and makes things happen quickly and gets that positive press out there. So any questions?
Thank you so much. We'll start with Councilmember McKenzie.
I don't have a lot of questions at this moment. I did speak with Keisha earlier today. We are in desperate need of a positive public relations campaign. It's actually been we've had quite a bit of negativity coming from within in our community, and it's distracting people from the good things that are going on in this city. And it's important to us to make sure that we attract people that want to live here, people that want to work here, people that want to do business and build and develop here. So this is a 911 for us at this moment. We did have a public relations firm. I've never seen anything close to what you guys are offering. So I do like what you're offering. This is still new to us in terms of, because we have not had this type of coverage. We haven't had this type of support as a city, and we deserve it. Our people deserve it. So again, I just would like to get some more information regarding what you all can do. What I did find out, which I really like, is that a part of your onboarding experience will train us. And it's a training that our employees need. Staff has already made it clear that this is what they would like to have. And I know we do. We need it as a governing body. So, because again, we're looking at a city that took 133 years to build, and it is being totally torn apart through negative media and not having enough of the positive public relations going forward. So I want to thank you. I just need some more time to look this over. I don't know if we were supposed to make a decision on this tonight, but I do like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Carr?
All right, thank you all for coming out.
Our pleasure.
We are in need of some good coverage. Can you go back to your pricing sheets there, the last couple, last two or three, I think?
Was it this one or the one?
Back one more. Yeah, all right. So it's a 90-day package here. I would definitely expect the weekly meetings.
Absolutely.
2 press releases per month. Okay, you mentioned that your full-time photographer and videographer come in the deal. Now, would they be on call 24/7, just like you mentioned that your team would?
Yes, absolutely. Now, when I say that, they do have a schedule that they follow, so we'll have to make sure that one of them's available, but even though we have the full-time photographer and videographer, we have 2 more trained drone operators and photographers on staff that are also service graphic artists. So we have all types. That's the advantage of having 35 people on staff. We have all types of people that we can pull from in emergency situations, so yes.
All right. Well, you won't have to worry about bringing the drones in. They're not allowed to fly within a 5-mile radius of Hartsville, Jackson. So that's
We have to get permission.
so you can take that out your
Okay.
fees.
Got it.
Right.
You can get permission for that.
Now, I see a bulk rate here for the 90-day. Now, if you go to the next screen, they're not additional hourly rates.
No, and that's why I put on one of them. Yeah, this is if you needed us for additional things. That covers over 20 hours, the previous page. So you're looking at, in my opinion, enough hours. That's why I went ahead and put a total price. I don't think you're going to need more than that $15,000, which is what I used to come up with the $63,000. I'm one of these people that I don't like surprises. So I treat my clients the same way. I want to give you what I think is going to be your maximum expenditure. And then you'll get an hourly charge based on what our actual services that we provide you are. But I've done this enough to know, and as has Heath and Angie, that I really do think that 10,000 mark, you're going to need that. Because I know where you're at and I know what we need to do for you. But I don't think we'll go over that total.
Okay, so if we were to consider this, if the whole 90 days wouldn't be over the 15.
Yeah, that's, 15 a month, exactly, which is a total of 63.
That's the most.
For that. Mhm, exactly. That is my anticipation.
Well, there's something to think about. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Arnold?
I don't have any questions. I do have a couple of statements, well, one statement. Actually, I think that this was very thorough, very informative, and I'm just, the same sentiments that have been made earlier, the things that you've shared with us tonight, Linda, about what you all offer the packages that you offer, we desperately need. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for the information.
Councilmember Gay?
Oh, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I have a few comments. First off, City Manager, we don't typically vote in workshop. I just want everybody to keep in mind that workshop is solely for us to get that information. Secondly, anything over a certain dollar amount, whether it's about a shovel or hiring a professional, we like to hear 2 more quotes. So if we can, for me, because I don't know enough about what they do to compare. And the third thing I want to say is, yeah, we got some negative stories, but I'm the defender of the council. We got some positive stories too. I see positive stuff just as much as I see negative stuff. And quite frankly, I don't think a press company is going to fix our negative press. It's the people that sending the issue. You know, if someone had an incident of no fault of our own, then I see a need to, you know, have a statement for the press. But if you got a group of people that keep firing off negative emails and acting out and calling the news every time then I think that's more of a problem that we got to deal with internally and externally, and I don't know how that's a job solely for the press. So that's my comments.
All right, well, thank you so much. And we will see everybody at 7:30 for our regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you again for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How you doing? Man, I haven't met you.